Let's go, Rider Nation.
I'm ready. I'm ready. Yeah, here we go. It's a feeling now. Hit 'em high, hit 'em low, 'cause we're dealing now. Everybody's giving it all they got, 'cause we're ready.
Welcome to the Piffles Podcast, your Saskatchewan Roughriders fan podcast. Week 1 of the CFL is here. Things count for real, and it's going to be fun. Thanks for joining us here this week. You got me. I'm Alex.
I'm Steve.
And I just want to say, like most national media, I'm just going to throw darts, and hopefully whatever I say just works out.
You're already talking about the CFL top 50 players list. That is on the agenda for tonight. And you haven't even really looked at it yet, Greg.
No, I literally got home from taking the boy to his coding club, and you guys were kind of filling me in, and I had to play the guessing game, which hindsight probably should have played that on the show because, oh boy. Actually, no, it's good because I got to filter out my commentary as I was rifling through it.
Well, there's this episode is all about picks, predictions, previews, and punters, actually. Lots of talk about punters.
That's where the best football talk is about.
For some reason, that's what we're doing. Thanks for listening wherever you get your podcasts, watching on YouTube or SaskTel Max TV on demand. Piffles Podcast is brought to you by Dairy Queen on Elphinstone Street and Sask Drive in Regina. We're also proud to be sponsored by Kathy Festian of Royal LePage Next Level, Churchill Brewing Company, District 306, Regina's Tactical Laser Tech Experience, and Bigfoot Vodka. Let's get things going. Week 1 is here. It's time for the opening kickoff. So let's start by going back to the preseason game. We'll finish off the preseason before we get to the regular season stuff. Riders, Bombers in front of about 55 people last week at Mosaic Stadium. I joke, but with how bad the smoke was here in Regina, it cleared out nice for the game, but I don't blame anybody for not going to that game at all. So if you stayed home, don't feel like you missed out on anything. It was a preseason game, I'll tell you that. But it was nice to be back at the park and lots of leg room.
You're going to have to get used to that, aren't you, this year, Alex?
Yeah. I was looking at, so I moved my season tickets from the end zone in section 125, moved to 523. And they're not even opening up that section for selling tickets for this upcoming game. So I'm going to have that whole section to myself. I'm kind of looking forward to that, actually.
It's like your own private box. Like,
right?
Look how big Piffles is getting. Alex has his own box now.
You're living the dream now, Alex.
I should get signs and lay them over top of all the chairs, so that if the camera ever pans to that, all you'll see is just the big Piffles Podcast logo.
How quick would they come and tear that down?
That'd be gone so fast.
Hey, we are the number 2 Canadian football podcast in the country, according to some metric that I'm not aware of.
Yeah, we got the Instagram, the Twitter messages today, the notifications saying we made the top 15. I didn't know there's 15 CFL podcasts across the country. I figured we were probably 15 out of 14, but turns out we're number 2.
Behind the waggle.
Yeah, so the actual CFL probably paid to have their number, be number 1. So
people don't pay to put themselves at the top of lists, Alex. I've never seen that happen. It does not happen.
They just do it for fan votes. Socks, maybe. Socks. You do it for socks. That's all you pay for.
But in all seriousness, if those metrics are relatively close to what they are, we do say thank you all the time, and we do mean it. Thank you for tuning in, for paying attention to us. I have no idea why you want to do that, but thank you. But we're just here to talk Riders and have some fun. So hopefully everybody listening enjoys that, and if not, come yell at us.
Now you know where Alex is. He'll be the only guy in section 520.
Yeah, now that I've given that away. But the preseason game, Riders lose to the Bombers 27-20. Couple things to talk about on that one. And we'll start with the quarterbacks because that's what everybody talks about in Riderville is the quarterbacks, is the backup quarterbacks. With what you guys saw in both preseason games, Jake Maier and Jack Cohn. I thought Jack Cohn played better than Jake Maier in the second game for sure. Should Jack Cohn actually be our number 2 quarterback and the direct backup to Trevor Harris? Because a lot of people are calling for that.
I'm going to say no. I know you're not the biggest Jake Maier lover. I know you're never going to see his jersey on the wall behind you. That's fine. But he gives you that veteran stability behind Trevor Harris, and you do need that, and that is important. And I think once the real bullets start flying and you get your legitimate O-line with the real starting receivers and an actual playbook that's, less vanilla than a scoop of ice cream, or it'll be a little better for him. I have a lot of faith that he'll be able to pull us out of a storm if, God forbid, Trevor Harris does go down.
And I think that speaks to why Maier's the guy right now and not Cohn. If Trevor Harris actually lasted more than half a season so far in his previous 2 years, and it was just one injury in the last 2, then you can make the argument with, well, he's not injury prone. We can trust he's going to be here most of the season, and maybe we can get the next guy ready. Look at what happened in 2015, with the Riders. First game in after Darian's injury. And then it was an absolute gong show from there. Like, you need to know the next guy is ready. And Cohn, while is improving and showed a lot more polish and poise than he did that one exhibition game at the end of the season last year, he still needs a little work. And I think they're going to bring him up as best they can. There's a reason why we have 4 quarterbacks on the roster.
For now. Until the mind games or the roster manipulation takes place. But yeah, I mean, if it was any other year, I'd probably be more inclined to say Cohn should be the number 2 and Maier should have been either A, not brought in, or B, shown the door. But in a season like this, where their window is now to win a Grey Cup, it's right now, it is this year, they feel this is it, you got to have that backup with some experience. And Jack Cohn just doesn't have that right now. And I know you only get experience by playing, but Maier has started for a couple of years in the CFL. He started with Mark Mueller's offense as well, too. So he is more familiar with it. And yeah, Steve, you said it. I'm not Jake Maier's biggest fan, but in this situation, he is the best choice. So I sure hope that hangnail, that Jack Cohn or the paper cut, whatever, is going to keep him out of the lineup all season long, doesn't last him, isn't too painful. But next year is a totally different story depending on what Trevor Harris does. But this year, yeah, Cohn has to be that 4th quarterback with Tommy Stevens as the clear number 3 for the short yardage. So I saw a lot of people as soon as the roster was announced and the cuts were made and Jake Maier wasn't on there. Saw a lot of people upset because Cohn outperformed him in preseason, but any other year I'd agree. This year, it's got to be Maier. So,
And
all I know is I have to go back and edit the part where you said Jake Maier and is the best option.
Stop
putting that together like sweet can.
Look at that, Steve doing the Simpsons reference. What world are we in right now? I'm confused. But I saw some fans basically pointing out that, well, Montreal pulled the trigger on Davis Alexander. Trey Ford's in Edmonton. Trey Ford has been in Edmonton for 3 seasons. Like, he's had time, and they decided they had to do it. This is year 2 on Jack Cohn. Like, there's no guarantees that he's ready to go. And I'm sorry that, like I said, that exhibition game at the end of the season last year, he was making decisions like he had 4 downs, not 3. He still hadn't learned the game then. So hopefully this year they can get some seasoning on him. And then, next year is when you need to see him step up.
When you mentioned Edmonton and Montreal, and look who they have behind those relatively young guys is in a Cody Fajardo and McLeod Bethel Thompson. You're not bringing in a guy like Jack Cohn to be your guy. You need that veteran in that second spot, and you season Cohn for hopefully 2026 and beyond.
Yeah. Again, this question comes up next year. My answer is probably entirely different. So, but that's next year's problem. We won't go through the big list of cuts because it was a lot of guys that we all expected. But the practice roster, we'll go through a couple of names here. Let me know if you guys want to talk about it, I guess. Mario Anderson as the backup running back. So this was actually an interesting one to me that they did keep him over Trent Penix, which isn't surprising based on how the preseason went.
No.
Because even in this last preseason game here in Saskatchewan, Mario Anderson lost that fumble, had all those rushing yards taken away on the return. So he had like minus 70 rushing yards. Not sure how the geniuses at Genius Sports got that figured out, but that's how it looked in the books. But once Mario Anderson came back in the fourth quarter, so he had the first half, Trent Penix had the third quarter. But once Mario Anderson came back in, I said, that's it. Mario Anderson is clearly the guy that they just don't see it in Penix. Something is not there with him, and I'm not surprised by that. And then he ended up almost housing a touchdown too. So I'm not surprised that they kept Mario Anderson over Trent Penix.
They gave
when you look
Anderson
at
they gave Anderson every opportunity to lose that job. Like Penix, like just the workload alone was basically 3/4 to a quarter between the two of them. It was obvious it was Anderson's to lose. It's just Penix did nothing to take it away from him.
Well, you say he didn't do anything to take it away from him. They gave Trent Penix 5 carries over the course of 2 games, while they gave Anderson, I think it was 14 or 15. And honestly, Penix looked at least consistent in his runs. He was that hard rusher up the middle, got 4 or 5 yards, wasn't really breaking anything, but they never gave him the chance to warm up. So this was clearly something they saw in camp that made them go, no, Anderson's our guy. We trust him. We're going to go with him. And they were never considering any other option, which is fine. Anderson looked good outside of his fumble. He's solid enough backup behind Bertrand Houdon, of course.
I was going to save this for later in the Churchill Brewing Company odds and end zones, but we'll do it right now since we're talking running backs. Walter Fletcher released in Montreal, Kadeem Carey in Toronto released. For a fan base in Saskatchewan that's always saying we need to groom our own guys, we need to bring up our own and scout. There's a lot of people saying we need to go out and get one of those guys right now. And I'm saying no. I don't understand this fascination that fans have right now with a backup running back, a veteran who costs potentially like $60,000, $70,000 more than his replacement. The Riders have a backup running back. For those that are saying we don't really have one with Mario Anderson, we have one, and it's Thomas Bertrand Houdon. That is the backup. They're not going to go out and get a Kadeem Carey. They're not going to go out and get a Walter Fletcher, barring injury. If something were to happen to AJ Ouellette in the first, game or two, I can see them absolutely going out and signing one of those guys, and that's our bell cow back. But this team was never going to have 2 American running backs on the roster, on the active roster. I know they did last year, but they never used them. We had Clint Rakovich as a fullback, and then when it was both AJ and Raquel Armstead at the end of the year, Armstead wasn't used at all. So Mark Mueller has shown that he is not going to use this guy in the offense. So at that point, why waste a roster spot on him? So I'd rather see another linebacker, which we're actually going to get with Miller Jr. on the roster. So they have room for that. But now with also, you got to think about the offensive line. We're going to be starting 3 Americans on the offensive line. You got to have the room for that to happen. And that comes at the expense of a backup running back, which is way more valuable to have that offensive lineman. So I don't understand this fascination. I get it. The concerns about AJ's health with what we saw last year, I totally understand that. But you're not going to go out prior to week 1 and pick up a Kadeem Carey or Walter Fletcher.
Well, it's funny, if you go just based off of that TSN top 50 that we're going to be talking about later, the Riders would be better off having Kadeem Carey over AJ Ouellette. They didn't rank him, let alone put him above a free agent in Kadeem Carey. If they were going to go after one or the other, I could see them potentially making a move for Walter Fletcher, because he would come in relatively cheap in comparison. Carey was an all-star last year. He's not coming in for pennies on the dollar, not before week 1. And yes, Fletcher would give you that veteran backup behind AJ, but I trust Bertrand Houdon. I just don't see the need for it. I'd be disappointed if they made that move, barring some kind of injury.
Hey, you never know what Carey might come in for. Like, if we give him a hot breakfast, after spending those years in Calgary, he might be here. Mike Rose is going to be sending pictures of pancakes. Tell him water's warm here. Yeah, I don't understand the need for it either. Like, think of in the Riders' history, how many times we had like a natural two-headed monster when it came to the running backs. We always had our bellwether back and usually a Canadian fullback just to spell them off.
When we had Kenton Keith and Corey Holmes, that's the only time I can think, at least in recent history, where we had the two guys that both got significant amount of touches to actually make it worth it.
Even when we had Thiggy and, oh God, what am I trying to blank? Was it Messam here then? Even then, it wasn't a lot. So we've never been a 2 running back team.
As much as fans wanted it to be Morrow and Hickson, it's been a long time, and it ain't going to be this year.
And you got to look at that offensive line too. Their pass protection last year was very solid, and that was starting 13 different guys. Their run blocking was not very good,
which is still backwards in my mind.
Yeah. So with what we're seeing already on the injury front on the offensive line, there's not really a reason to have a backup running back. I know they're going to want to try and do bully ball, but I don't see it happening. This is still going to be very pass heavy offense. So the need for another running back, it's just, to me, it's not there.
It's going to be a lot of 1-2 throw. And that's about it.
Elsewhere on the practice roster, defensive back Antoine Brooks Jr., I'm glad they kept him around. Defensive lineman Kendi Charles, I thought had a pretty decent preseason game there against Winnipeg last week. Offensive lineman Peyton Collins, who might actually be starting at left tackle this year. We'll talk about that in a little bit, or this week. We'll talk about that. Global punter Joe Couch.
Honestly, Joe Couch deserved a spot just for his hustle on that one return that was called back.
Yes.
He ran a long way, not just for an athlete, for a punter. He ran side to side 40 yards to make that tackle. So he deserved at least a practice roster spot, at least one of those little bonus checks before they send him packing.
And I would like to point out to the Bomber social media team, that was more of a hit than whatever Sergio attempted the game before.
Laying in the boom, whatever they call it.
Lay in the boom. Okay. That's a speed bump.
Yeah. Defensive back Eddie Heckard, he's the one that had the interception last week. Defensive lineman Benoit Marion, I'm glad they kept him around as well. Dre McCray, receiver Dre McCray, also kick returner. No surprise that he made the practice roster. I think a lot of people were disappointed that he didn't get the kick return job outright ahead of Mario Alford. What do you guys think of that one?
Is calling it a joke too much? He looked good. He looked fantastic as our kick returner. I realize it's preseason, but he was what Mario Alford was 3 years ago. Straight up the field, find the hole and go. He did nothing side to side. I was so tired of watching Mario Alford run to the sidelines on every kick return last year that it was refreshing to see something a little different. But I'm wondering if he's also not a little nicked up, because I know he hurt I think it was his shoulder at one point there when we had 17 riders on the field injured in one play. He was definitely one of them, but I expect we'll see more from him before too long.
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to deal with him being nicked up, and you're not going to put Alford on the practice rosters. So let him get healthy, and hopefully Mario realizes there is a guy right behind him ready to put him back on his farm. So
yeah, it just makes the leash that much shorter, right? So I don't think that's going to be a full long-term thing. I can absolutely see the team moving on from Mario Alford before the ninth game, when his salary becomes guaranteed for the rest of the season. And if McRae is healthy and has that explosiveness, I can see him taking that job sooner rather than later. It's just not going to happen right off the bat here. Receivers, Deshaun Mims and Joe Robustelli on the practice roster. Mims, obviously the Canadian, which you need the depth for when you're starting 3 Canadian receivers. And Robustelli, who was fantastic in that second preseason game. First preseason game, he was good too, but the second one really had one hell of a game.
he robusted out, if you will.
You've been reading too much Rob Vanstone.
Is there such a thing as reading too much Rob Vanstone?
That's a good point. It's just going to be tough for him to crack the active roster. That's the only issue. He looks like he's a gamer, and we saw that in the last regular season game last year, is that he has that potential. And other than his horrible taste in picking Drake over Kendrick Lamar for who won the beef, other than that, seems like he's, great on the field and everything. I just don't, with the team only being able to really have 2 American receivers on the field on the active roster, you have Keyshawn Johnson and Dante Myers to start. Well, then all of a sudden, Sean Bain Jr., who's, depends on what they do with him. We'll find out on Wednesday if it's 1 game or 6 game list for him, but he's still behind Sean Bain as well. So all of a sudden he's the 4th out of 2. So it might take a little bit for him to get into the active roster, but I'm glad that he accepted that PR spot again, because I think he can be a really, really good one for this team in the future.
I think he got going to Bain. I think he got a 6 game him. Like, he said he was 85% a week ago.
Yeah.
That 15% ain't coming within that period of time. Give him the full 6 games, let him heal up, and you can pull him off early. So
yeah, take the time, make sure he is 100%. The cuts are there. Make sure all that's good for him with that knee. They can afford the time with the 2 receivers that they do have for Americans, plus Robustelli behind them. Plus, if they really, really needed to, they could probably start 4 Canadian receivers. Not that
Canadian Air Force, baby. I want to see it.
That's the plan, but they probably could do it with the depth that they have. So they're afforded the luxury of waiting on Sean Bain here.
And let's be honest, if they wanted to actually put another Canadian on the offensive line, I don't think it would hurt them. So, like, they have flexibility to get the ratio where they need to be, so they don't have to go 4 Canadians on wide receiver. Although that would be awesome.
It would be awesome if it worked. I'm not so sold that would work all that well, but. Hey.
Well, at least we're not just putting out plugs there like we used to with Joshua Stanford as the token receiver.
You stand over there and try to draw a defender away. You'll never see a ball.
Curl route, 10-yard curl every play. Take the receiver, take the DB with you, and just run a go pattern every play. They have guys that can play, so they're not just putting out plugs. So that's the good thing, is even if they were to start 4, they'd be 4 solid ones. You have KSB, Emilus, Del Duncan Busby, and Mitch Picton would be your top 4. Like, that's pretty damn solid.
And Neil showed a lot of potential too. I was very impressed with the stuff he showed in preseason. So.
And then the last one on the practice roster was offensive lineman Noah Zur, which we kind of assumed after all the injuries happened on the O-line in training camp that, he made the roster. Won't go through the cuts, but and Greg, luckily for you, you don't have to pick your favorite Herdman Reed brother.
I was worried
because they both got cut.
I guarantee you it came down to we want to cut one of the Herdman Reeds. Which one? Oh crap! I don't know. The one that looks like this. They both look like that. Just get rid of both.
Cut them both.
Cut them both.
I mean, they were hard pressed to make the team anyway with healthy Malik Straker and Nick Weeb. So with those guys ready to go and taking those spots on specials, time to move on from the Twins. So that's, I mean, I think it was just as simple as that. So, but we're
can I say the one cut that surprises me?
Yeah, I was gonna say which ones do surprise you on the list?
That Braid Missouri. Everyone was saying, like, they even had an article on, I think, Vanstone talking about how he's reminding a lot of people of a Joe, and I'm like, well, that's high praise from a guy they just brought in off the street, and then they cut him. So I'm confused.
I mean, if you look at the depth that we've got at receiver, they really didn't have a choice. Who's he going to outplay? You're not cutting Mitch Picton because he gives you that, every position role. You got the youth, you got the American spots. He was just the odd man out. The one surprise to me was Phelan Sanford, and the only surprise was that he made it to the locker room before the end of that game.
You took my joke. I was just going to say that. He was awful. Oh my God.
Made me wish for the days of Junior Murtile.
The good news about that first half for in that preseason game is a lot of those guys made the coachings, like the decisions, very, very easy.
Yep.
Like I said, I'm like, I wish I went to that game so I could have left it, because it was just watching some of the effort on those guys in that first half. It's like, are you trying to make this team?
It was bad. Zach Caleros
He realized
2 40-yard passes and 2 touchdowns, the touchdown right away. Like, holy crap, these guys just look so bad.
And 100% of his passes were just poor coverage. Like, the guy had the touchdown pass covered. He just never turned around to the ball and let the guy catch it. And Sanford was just in a different area code.
Well, and that was the same thing on the touchdown pass from Strevler.
Yep.
10, 15 yards wide open in the back of the end zone. So no real surprises with the cuts, like I said. So the retired list is a weird one because those are the guys going back to school, which they changed it now. They used to be straight up released, although you still kept their rights. Then they were on a suspended list instead to go back to school. Now they're on the retired list. I don't know. They should just call it the Billy Madison list because they're going back to school.
So their dad don't think they're a fool.
Exactly. So
I think this is one of those CFL. I love you, but you guys got to get your crap together, because this is the same thing with the roster ratio when it came to camp. It's all, well, the rule's always been on the books. We just interpreted it a different way, and that's the same thing with this. Someone went through the rule book going, well, actually, what it says is, and so now everyone's got to change the way they've done things for how many years now. You'd think they would just go to the CFLPA, hey, mind if we just codify the stuff we're already doing and just move on?
Look, I found more on the scroll. Turns out prohibition was abolished back in 1943. See, Steve, I can make obscure Simpson references too.
Oh, beer baron.
Really proud of you.
Can I say something? Everyone, like, every year there's always been like this. There's always been like surprise cuts. Like, there was no real surprises for the Riders this year. Most teams didn't have a lot of surprises. And I think that's because they got a bunch of extra money from the PA. And now a lot of teams did not have to make that decision.
Yeah.
Because usually you always have those big vets that got cut. This year there's not that many of them, other than like the running backs.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, for the Riders, though, there wasn't many spots open. It was a lot of backup spots. So this roster was pretty set heading into training camp. So it would have taken something special for one of our projected starters to not make this team. And that was just honestly never going to happen in a year where it's like, it kind of reminds me of 2020 or 2013 in a way, just that veteran team that this is their chance. Like, this is the year they have to do it, right? Like, this is it. So you're not going to let go of, an all-star linebacker because another guy shows up that he's potentially going to be good. They can wait a year.
I did see somebody on Twitter had one of those AI generated age stats, and it showed that the Riders actually have the most veteran roster, not by age, but by the number of games played, the number of true veterans. I think it said they only had 4 or 5 raw CFL rookies still on their active roster, and the most games played per player on average. So this is a team that is absolutely built around continuity, around veterans, and around that build now model that we hope leads to success.
And punters. I have never seen so much panic over punters. When Bailey Flint was put on the suspended list and Joe Couch was put on the practice roster, panic arose in Riderville because we don't have a punter. Well, Joe Couch is there. He's there on the practice roster. The practice roster can change, and usually week 1 of the season, there's a lot of movement between the practice roster and game day roster by the time your depth charts come out. So, I mean, don't worry. We have another one now with James Evans getting signed. He was with the Bombers in the preseason, and apparently Bomber fans are upset that he got cut. He was better than their current punter. So
he refused a practice roster spot. That's the reason why he got let go.
So I'm not sure who's going to get first crack this upcoming Thursday. Maybe it is James Evans or it's Joe Couch. But whoever it is, if they're not having a solid game, they'll probably go to the other guy next week. So lots of panic over a punter. It's like, calm down. It's fine. There's a plan. They're not going to have 4 quarterbacks on the roster and no punter. Like, something's going to happen here. Don't worry. It's just simple roster manipulation so that they can keep everybody right now.
I haven't seen this much panic over a punter since I tried to fight the Edmonton mascot of the 2010 Grey Cup. It's absurd. Relax.
The worst mascot in the CFL by far is punter. That's stupid
Absolutely.
Football in Edmonton. I have no reason why I hate that guy so much, why I hate that mascot. I have no logical reason.
What about the inflatable bird of Montreal? I'm not a fan of Touche? The inflatable bird of Montreal? Touche? Is it Touche?
Sure.
Yeah, it's a guy in an inflatable bird costume that just hops around.
But at least that's their team too. Animal. I can kind of get that. It's a football. You don't get to claim a football as a mascot.
Looks like a potato.
It does.
I was waiting for someone to call it potato.
And I bet you they were like, when they were figuring it out, here comes another Simpsons reference. When they were figuring out what should we do with this mascot, and they hold a football, and they were just like, I just think it's neat. Mm-hmm. So I think that's just what they did. Anyway. Well, we'll have some more roster news coming up in the preview for this upcoming game. But that's the opening kickoff presented by Kathy Festian of Royal LePage Next Level. Let's jump to Remember That Guy, sponsored by District 306, Regina's Tactical Laser Tag Experience. And Greg, I hope you have a big list of players. Long list to choose from. The who's who and
who's that
of Rider Nation. You're going to give us some hints. We're going to try and guess that Rider player. So
I'm just hoping I can redeem myself after last week.
Once we figured out who it was, I was very disappointed in you, Steve. And I know I say that all the time, but I really was this time.
I was so happy that I could throw his own words in front of him, and he just looked and going, who would say something like that?
Whoever said that was an idiot. Yes.
All right. Let's remember that guy.
All right. This Akron Zip is a 2-time rider. Ended his time at Akron with a combined 102 tackles, 23 tackles for loss, 11 sacks, 5 fumble recoveries, and 6 forced fumbles. He is a 3-time Grey Cup champion.
Is it Sean Lemon?
God damn it.
Nailed it.
Nice.
I think it was the 2-time rider part, and then when you started listing defensive stacks.
Yeah, I was worried I had
have him on here at some point.
I had him too early. I had the stats too early in the thing. I should have laid off the position for a while. But anyways, let me finish this off because
yes, please. I want to hear what else you had here.
I was really happy the way I wrote this. Was a CFL East and West All-Star, but a CFL All-Star just once. Has over 200 CFL tackles and over 100 sacks, but his rider stat line is 1 forced fumble. And then, one second, I got to take an inhale on this one. Winnipeg, Saskatchewan, San Jose, Orlando, Sioux Falls, Edmonton, Calgary, Pittsburgh, San Francisco, Ottawa, Toronto, Vancouver, and Montreal.
I don't think I would have got it based off that.
Huh?
I don't think I would have got it based off that.
And $100 will cost you a Hall of Fame career. God bless.
Bet on yourself.
Always bet on yourself.
Wow.
Got that in 3.
Jeez, that was almost as good as
Well
my
done, Alex.
Hofstra, Rocky Butler.
12. He's had a pro career of 12 years. Winnipeg, Saskatchewan, San Jose, Orlando, Sioux Falls, Edmonton, Calgary, Pittsburgh, San Francisco, Ottawa, Toronto, Vancouver, Montreal, and some of those multiple times.
Yeah. I mean, one hell of a career, honestly, for Sean Lemon. And it is a CF, like it's a Canadian Football Hall of Fame career.
100% he is.
100%. Maybe not first ballot, but he's very close with the stats that he put up. But you can't bet on your own games. And that's going to ruin his legacy.
One team short of a full Glen. Ticats are the only team.
The good news for Sean Lemon is MLB has set the standard now. So after he's gone, his family can induct him into the Hall of Fame. But
60 years down the road,
yeah,
Sean Lemon can finally go into the Hall of Fame because Pete Rose is allowed to now that he's dead.
Yeah.
Jeez.
The silver lining,
the only
Steve.
standard.
The silver lining. When he's dead, he can go in the Hall of Fame.
It still amazes me that people would compare his situation to other things that were going on at the time. And why did he only get 1 or why did he get 9 and why did this? You can't bet on football. You just can't. It is literally the golden rule of sports.
Yeah, because we're talking about the integrity of the game, not the integrity of the person.
Yep.
I still just find it funny. You only played that one game. Well, sorry, he dressed for a game in 2012 for the Riders.
Was it
after he came off the project. Yeah, 2012.
Yeah, okay.
And then he played opening, and the reason why I picked him, he played the opening home opener. And then him and Chris Jones fell apart immediately.
Yes, because that was 26. That was 2016. was Chris Jones' first year, right? That's when he was back, and he didn't want to drop into coverage, which Chris Jones made the defensive ends do a lot. Like we saw AC Leonard drop into coverage quite a bit, and Sean Lemon just wanted to go after the quarterback, and that was it. I mean, he made a good career of doing it, so maybe Chris Jones probably should have just let him, but that wasn't the defense that Chris Jones runs. So
no, don't get me wrong. Yes, see quarterback, hit quarterback. He was very good at doing that, but yeah, just Sean Lemon.
I don't think there's a single person out there who would question that he had a Hall of Fame career.
Just made one stupid decision, and it's going to ruin it all for him, unfortunately. I'm proud of myself. I was able to remember that guy.
I probably would have, but you yelled it too quick. I would have got it with a long list of names.
I knew I should have moved the stats later, but I'm like, I'll just talk about them at Akron. Like, they won't not talk college. Oh, well.
Yeah, me. I have no idea about anything college, Greg. I'm going to start with all their college stats. But that's Remember That Guy, sponsored by District 306, Regina's tactical laser tag experience. Let's jump to our Churchill Brewing Company odds and end zones. let's get to the CFL top 50. Greg still hasn't seen the full list. I skimmed through it. I don't make much of this list. It's a weird list because some of it's based on potential, some of it's based on what have you done. So there is no criteria.
And not even lately.
National
Just
media
what have
voting.
you done?
Yeah. So number 1 was Brady Oliveira, which is kind of hard to argue that. We could.
He should have been number 1 last year.
Yeah. So I have absolutely no problem with him being number 1. He was the MOP the last year. He's probably going to be in the running for MOP again this year. So no problem with that.
You could put him at the top 3 spots, and I don't think anybody would complain about it. He is that good.
And dude rescues dogs in the off season, so he's high up on my great people list just based off that. Number 3, and there's a reason why I'm skipping number 2 here. Number 3 was Bo Levi Mitchell. He was the top quarterback on the list. Not surprising with the stats he put up last year. Number 2, and this is where we're going to talk about the Riders here, was Roland Milligan Jr. I was actually surprised they put Roland Milligan at number 2, because usually a defensive back doesn't get that kind of recognition to be one of the top 3 players in the league. So when you have national media voting on this, that just reiterates how freaking good this guy is. He is unbelievable. So congratulations, Roland Milligan, number 2. You could have easily made the case for him to be number 1, but they usually give it to a quarterback, typically is what they do. So the fact that the first 2 guys aren't quarterbacks and one's a defensive back is it's actually really impressive.
Well, when the number 2 podcast in Canada has a sign campaign, a lawn sign campaign to try to get you in the MOP conversation, it raises your stats with the national media, obviously. Yeah, like even if it was Bo Levi at 2 and Milligan at 3, I wouldn't have complained. Milligan, like I said, he should have been in the conversation with MOP. Hard against Oliveira, but the dude is a shutdown corner, and he's shutdown defensive back, and he's everywhere. So, yeah, the league's starting to notice how good he is.
Other riders that made the list. The next guy on the list for the Riders was Trevor Harris at number 24. Harris was the 6th ranked quarterback on this list, with the top 5 all being in the top 11 of the list. So there was a drop off before you got to Trevor Harris. That one was a bit interesting to me because Harris, outside of Bo Levi Mitchell, was the best quarterback last year.
This also now adds to my no one watched Winnipeg play last year.
Claros was number 10 on this list? No. He might have been quarterback number 10 last year, not
he had
player
2
number
good
10.
games. And I'll say this constantly, he had 2 good games. That game where he threw 6 touchdowns against Edmonton to put him in positive touchdown versus interceptions and the West Final. Those are the only 2 games he played last year that were half decent. Like, what a joke. No one watches him play, I swear.
This list lost me when you had Nathan Rourke in at number 7. It's not a shot against Nathan Rourke.
I got to pull up the list.
But
Yeah.
to have Nathan Rourke and to look at what he did last year when he came back, and it was not good. He took over from an MOP candidate in Vernon Adams Jr. and did okay at best. This is the problem you have with
Pacific.
Yep. Like, this is the problem you have with it, is you have some guys who are, like you said, making it on potential, which potential-wise Nathan Rourke could be, but he hasn't played in the CFL for years, and his last known attempt in the CFL was horrible. So how does he get this high up the list? I don't get it. And that's the moment you have him, Zach Caleros, and others above Trevor Harris, I almost lost interest in this list.
Tyrell Ford.
Yeah, wrong Ford. I did the same double take.
Like number 9, really?
9? Like what? Well, Chad Kelly even at 11. Are you kidding me?
And if they want to go based off stats, his stats weren't that good. I mean, don't get me wrong, the guy has a great win-loss record.
Wins aren't a quarterback stat.
Apparently
They're
not.
not.
Rounding out the Riders' numbers, Logan Ferland, obviously on this list, was number 37, which with a guy with that kind of, I mean, I feel he should be higher, but it's tough for, offensive linemen to get love on this list. So I'm not surprised, but I feel he should be higher than that. And then Jameer Thurman was number 43 and CJ Revis at number 44. And my biggest takeaways from that is no Marcus Sales.
I'm sorry. You had
Go ahead. Try to fight.
You had 4 or 5 offensive linemen ahead of Logan Ferland, a guy who was an all-star caliber offensive lineman at all 5 spots last year. And you're going to tell me he's behind Revenberg, Ryan Hunter wasn't even the best O-lineman on his league, as Greg likes to say.
He wasn't.
On his team, sorry. Dijon Allen.
Dijon Allen. Dijon Allen is on this list. Yeah, he's 22.
Yep, he's 22. Stanley Bryant is 28. You want to talk about living off your name? He was okay last year. Brandon Revenberg, 35, and then Ferland at 37, just above Martez Ivy in Edmonton. Like, I wonder how many of these people, the same people who made this list are the guys who voted for most outstanding linemen last year. They watched the East games and then did the rest of it just with a dartboard.
No, Greg, you're looking at this list in real time.
I'm going through this list. I'm just hate scrolling. I'm sure you guys can see it in my face. I'm just hate scrolling this list. Like, are you kidding me? Hey, at least Drew Brown is 46. Like, oh.
And when you don't have a Marcus Sales, you don't have AJ Ouellette. At least I understand. He only played, effectively half a season and was not good based on his injuries. But no Samuel Emelis.
Yeah, you're number 2 Canadian receiver in the league for receiving.
And somehow he's completely off the list. Like, this is a team that was it 8 or 9 All-Stars last year?
Yeah.
And somehow we have 5 in the top 50.
Make it make sense.
There is no way to polish up this turd. You just can't.
Now, the fun part is we always have issues with this list every year, and this list really means absolutely nothing. Nothing whatsoever.
But, like, they got Dalton Schoen in here, and that's fine. Schoen, yeah, sorry. And that's what I mean. It makes no sense. Are you basing it on the season previously or what they've done, what their potential is? We don't know what he's going to be coming off injury.
Yeah. And
he's middle of the list. And then you got Sam Emelis coming off 1,000 yards last year. And you're going, yeah, well, he doesn't deserve it. Like, come on. That said, Janarian Grant is too low on this list. He should be higher than 32.
I think his stats are inflated because he plays the Riders. We gift him so many touchdowns year after year that he doesn't seem to score against anybody else. It just seems like it's always against us.
He does embarrass us quite a few times, doesn't he?
He's the Nick Dembski of the Winnipeg. Wait a minute.
Okay, well, we talked about how we're going to do some predictions and everything this week. That's what we're going to do right now. So we're going to go over our team award winners. We do this every year, pick our Rider Award winners. We're not going to go too in depth on a couple of them because they're pretty obvious. So last year we decided to all pick different names. So you guys submitted yours to me and then I picked somebody different than that. So this year there was none of that. It was just, I honestly had my list and then just added your guys in after. So this is how it is. So for
we hang out too much, apparently. Like we see each other too much is what I'm realizing.
I agree. Most outstanding player. Greg, you and I both had Trevor Harris. Steve was the odd man out here, picking AJ Ouellette. And that's actually going to come up in a minute here with one of your other predictions.
And that was after the preseason games?
Yep. We all know my love of running backs.
It's true.
Yeah.
I haven't
so
gotten
it-
his jersey, so he's good.
So in a few years, when it's time to remember that guy, Steve won't remember AJ Ouellette.
Accurate.
Most outstanding Canadian, we all pick Sam MLS. Most outstanding offensive lineman, we all pick Logan Ferlin. No surprise there. Defensive player of the year, you guys both pick Roland Milligan Jr. I went with Marcus Sales.
Not even a top 50 player. Your list is trash.
Yeah.
I went back and forth between Milligan and Thurman. I think this year is going to be a very good year for Thurman as well. But it's hard to deny Milligan if he plays the way he did last year, or even 85% of the way he played last year. He's a shoo-in for that award again.
Well, and one guy we're not even talking about, who's probably the most underappreciated guy in the league, is CJ Rivas. Like, he was unbelievable last year. Doesn't get any recognition because he lines up next to Jameer Thurman, and he's got Roland Milligan and Marcus Sales behind him. So you could pick him as defensive player of the year for the Rider nominee, and I don't think anybody would bat an eye at that.
You could take the entire defense, stick them on a wheel, spin it, and unless it lands on Jaden Dalkey, I think you're good. And don't get me wrong, I like Dalkey, but he ain't going to win the award.
Yeah.
Watch him come out and win the award now.
Rookie of the year, you guys both picked Dre McRae, the receiver kick returner, and I picked Kendi Charles. I was going to put Aaron Patrick, but then I realized he doesn't actually qualify as a rookie because he played in the NFL for a few years. So I'm like, they don't have anybody else. So I'm like, I'm not going to pick McRae too. So I switched it to Kendi Charles because he's the only other rookie on this roster.
Oh, and that's what I did too. I'm like, Charles, no. I'm like, McRae must have, and he never doesn't have any NFL experience. So I'm like, well, that's an easy one.
Yeah. Special teams player of the year, you guys both went with McRae there. I did the easy route. I picked Brett Lothar. I just want that ding at the end of the year in October when the teams get announced. But we do our own categories, and these are the fun ones for me. We do an unsung hero award. So a guy who's going to be quite good for the team, but it's going to be in a quiet role. Steve, you had Del Duncan Busby, who's penciled in to be our third Canadian receiver. After his breakout that he had, that first game where he had 117 yards, whatever he had, he's got the potential. Greg, you went with Jackson Ford, which won't be playing in week 1. He's been ruled out with the hand injury, but this is a guy that can step in at safety, step in on special teams. He's great on special teams. And if something happens in the secondary where he ends up getting that job over Nelson Lacombo or whatever, he could be a real game changer.
And that's where I thought. Like, you watched him in the preseason before he got hurt. Dude was everywhere. He was laying the legs. He looked like a young Jaden Dalkey, actually, back when we thought Dalkey was going to take the league by storm. So I think he's going to be a force in that defensive secondary when he gets healthy again.
And I took Thomas Bertrand Houdon as my unsung hero.
That's a good choice, actually.
If AJ gets hurt in game, he's the guy that's going to step in. And we saw what he could do given a bigger role in the offense in that game against Ottawa last year. Had that nice touchdown run, 30-yard touchdown run, whatever it was. I think he's earned not just the backup running back spot, because I think he has earned that, but just a bigger role in the offense as that change of pace to AJ Ouellette. And I think they can afford now to not have AJ take 20 carries a game. They can give 5-6 of those to Bertrand Houdon, keep AJ a little bit fresher throughout the year. And TBH is great on special teams as well too. So I'm a big fan of Bertrand Houdon, and I think he's going to take that next step up this year.
I really think this year, speaking on that, they probably are going to have AJ on a pitch count this year. So I think you're right. I think TBH is the guy that's going to spell him off and probably look very good doing it.
all he's done anytime he's been on the field is show up. We've been tooting his praises for what, 2 full seasons now. I hope he does get a legitimate chance. I hope it doesn't come at the expense of an injury. I hope it's just his spell offs of AJ Ouellette and coming out there and putting up 300, 400, 500 yards in that backup role. I hope he makes me look foolish with my Trent Penix pick even more than it already is.
At least you got a guy who played in preseason games.
Win by default. Default. 2 greatest words in the English dictionary or English language.
So many Simpsons references. I love it. And we also did a most improved player award. Steve, you had Jackson Ford. Greg, I love your pick here with Habakkuk Baldonado. And when I see someone like Luke Mullender give the praise to Baldonado, like he did on our show, like, I think this guy's going to be something special on the D-line this year. Give him more reps. He's going to be a stud.
I honestly, and this is maybe crazy, bold prediction, not for this season, but for next 1 or 2 seasons. I think Baldonado is going to be in conversation for a defensive player at some point, because I think he's that good. I think he's got that much, and he could be like the first real global player to break through that's not a punter or a special teamer. So,
and I stayed on the D line. I went with Benoit Marion, just with what we saw last year coming in mid-season and playing better than expected right off the bat. I mean, he's starting on the practice roster, but we saw how that rotation works in the D line. He'll get some reps too, so I think he'll show out with that. We did our standings predictions. They're up on pifflespodcast.com. Fun part about that, you both had Winnipeg tied for 3rd in the West, but both of you had them in 4th, which would have them as a crossover, but had East teams above them. So both of you guys had Winnipeg missing the playoffs. That doesn't count as a bold prediction because I did that bold prediction last year. You guys are stealing my thunder on that, but I love that you guys did that. I think I had Winnipeg in 2nd place in the West. But I love that you guys are both picking them to miss the playoffs. I hope you guys are right.
well, but if you look at my breakdown, like the way I do it, I go through every game. And yes, a lot of it's throwing darts, but it's like, okay, this is home, this is whatever. Like you have certain factors into it. It was hard this year. Like this year is going to be tight in both the East and the West and across the East and the West. Like it was very hard to pick, like, oh, this team obviously sucks besides Calgary. And even Ottawa is still better than they were a couple seasons ago. It's going to be a tough year for everybody.
Although
Isn't
I think
that
he
nice
only
to
had
say?
5 wins, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think I had Calgary 5 wins.
No,
I think at
Ottawa. You had Ottawa pretty low too. Maybe they
I
were
thought I
at
had
6.
6. I think they're at 6. I'm sure I had Calgary is the worst team in the league.
You had Ottawa with 6 wins. Sorry, yeah.
That's what I thought. Yeah, Calgary. I know I had Calgary with at least 1 win.
I had Calgary at 4 wins. So
We're gonna go 12-6 or 13-5. They're gonna go 4 and whatever, and 2 of their wins are gonna be against us because
Probably. Yeah.
nobody plays to the level of their competition quite like the Saskatchewan Roughriders.
and then, funny enough, we all took the Riders to be 12-6. I had Winnipeg at 10-8. You both had BC at 10-8, and we all had Edmonton at 9-9.
Which is what they deserve.
Yep.
I think Edmonton will start out slow. It'll take them a while to gel with all their new additions, but once they get going, I think they'll be a tough team to play. So, who do you guys have in the Grey Cup? Doesn't need to be who wins. Who makes the Grey Cup game? Because this actually leads me to my bold prediction.
All the best Grey Cups are Saskatchewan versus Hamilton.
Get out of my head.
I already said this online. It's not like it's a secret.
I know. I have to go with our friend Christina's prediction, and It's 100% a Saskatchewan Hamilton Grey Cup, and I like her top off of the Riders winning in Winnipeg. I'm just picturing Andrew Harris in Ryder Green lifting the Grey Cup in Winnipeg's locker room. Just mwah, chef's kiss.
I know I have Winnipeg missing the playoffs, but I kind of want to see Saskatchewan, Winnipeg in Winnipeg, and Winnipeg in the visiting dressing room.
And the Riders to be petty enough to say no. We are in the right as the West representative. We get the West locker room.
Yep,
We
100%.
get the home locker room.
And they should.
Absolutely. 100%.
Mind games from the start. Oh, be delightful.
And my pick actually is part of my bold predictions. So let's jump to bold predictions. It finally happens. And Greg, this kind of ties in with yours. A crossover team makes their way. They win their way to the Grey Cup. We have an all-West championship game. The Rough Riders represent the West and take on the BC Lions, who represent the East. The most further west team represents the East. So that is my bold CFL prediction of the year. We finally get a crossover team getting to the Grey Cup.
I don't hate it. Like I said, I think this year's going to be super tight, so it could very well happen. I think the biggest issue with that is going to be is the fourth place team from the West actually going to be better than the third place team from the East, and I don't know if that's going to be the case. I wouldn't hate seeing it. The Riders were so close. Thanks, Cody Fajardo, for nothing. But yeah, no, I would love to see that. That'd be great.
Steve,
I can't even remember what I had for my bold prediction was.
Do you want me to read it? I have it in here.
Yeah, my memory sucks.
I never sent you mine because I still don't have one. I'll come up with one.
I'm waiting for it because the article's coming out tomorrow. I added a line in here for you, Steve.
Beautiful.
After a disappointing 2024 campaign, Rough Riders running back AJ Ouellette leads the CFL in rushing.
Yep, it's gonna happen.
That's why you have him as your Riders MOP.
Yep. And I will go farther than that, and I don't even think it's particularly close by the end of the season.
I'm gonna add that right now, and I don't think it's particularly close.
Now watch him finish 8th.
Yeah, kidding.
Greg, what is your bold CFL prediction for this upcoming season?
This is tough because I've gone back and forth. And like I said, I've been trying to contemplate looking at this league, what is going to happen and what is likely. I think we are at the most parity this league has ever seen.
I'd agree.
The teams are better. The bigger salary cap has let them keep a lot more of their players. We didn't get the surprise cuts this year. I've seen Cliffy. I actually got texted. I actually didn't see it because I'm notorious for not listening to other podcasts. Someone told me Cliffy said his big prediction was the Alouettes were going to have 5,000-yard receivers. And if Davis Alexander, you go, you king. If you can do that, and maybe it's not that big a prediction, but I think the Riders are going to have 3,000-yard receivers this year. I think if Trevor Harris stays healthy, I think we can get 3. We haven't had that in how many years? It's
been a while.
It's been a while.
It would have been the when Bakari Grant, Duron Carter.
I was going to say the presidents.
The presidents.
Yeah, the presidents. So we're going damn near a decade since that's happened.
2017.
Yeah,
I think was it 20. Yeah, it would have been 2017.
Yeah, 2017.
Man, I love Bakari Grant.
So good.
I wish he was here longer. He was so good. He was just solid
and a good dude.
Consistent for us, and I don't care what anybody says. I love Duron Carter. I love the attitude. I love the fact that he played DB and ended up getting interceptions. And I love that. I love Duron Carter.
That pick 6 against Bo Levi is still one of my favorite plays in the last 15 years.
And give Roddy his flowers on that one. That call was great call. In CFL calls, that thing is going. That thing's in the Hall of Fame right there.
So who do you have
Unlike
as
Sean
your...
Lemon.
Yeah.
Yeah, Roddy's going to make it before Sean Lemon does. So who do I have as my receivers?
Who do you have? So I'm assuming you have MLS.
I have MLS, obviously. I've got Keyshawn Johnson.
Mm-hmm. Who's the third one?
I keep on going back. Actually, the Riders might get 4. If Harris can stay healthy, they might get 4. But I like Dante Myers over KSB. But KSB is we're talking KSB is in that 900 range. He's
been knocking on that door. He's close he got, I think it was 964. He was kind of in that mid 900s.
He's Nick Dembski did a few times. Like he's the best 1,000-yard receivers the Riders have. That's not a 1,000-yard receiver. So
it's been a while since we've seen that here in Riderville. So
we just need a healthy quarterback.
Well, and honestly, with Jake Mayer as the backup this year, I can see it happening regardless of Trevor Harris's health. I can see it happening. It's just whether we win those games is the big question. Sorry, I'm just making one other note here. Perfect. Okay. Well, there's our picks predictions for this year. And one more thing to do on the show is our enemy preview. Riders take on the Red Blacks on Thursday night, 7 o'clock, Mosaic Stadium in the season opener.
Don't listen to Google. Google has it at 7:30, just so everyone knows.
Oh, interesting. 7:08 is kickoff.
Yeah.
So Jackson Ford, we'll start with the injuries. Jackson Ford ruled out, which means Kerfala Exume will be the primary backup, I guess, for defensive backs. But they could also drop Jaden Dalkey back there if need be. He's moved up to linebacker, which I think is a better spot for him. But with Jackson Ford out, Dalkey can back up Nelson Lacombo there at safety if something were to happen. So I guess there's a silver lining there that they do have the depth elsewhere on the roster that they can move around in a pinch.
That one kind of hurts a little bit. I was really hoping to see Jackson Ford get some meaningful reps because he absolutely balled out in preseason. He was, to me, the best player on the defensive side of the ball for the Riders in preseason. So I was hoping he would get that shot, but hopefully he gets healthy and can contribute later on.
Unfortunately, when you're the type of safety that looks for contact, you're going to get nicked up.
Yeah.
Say what you want about if that's a shot at Lacombo or not, but it's true. Like you could tell, like he was up there making plays up at the second level. He wasn't waiting for guys to come to him. So, I look forward to when he's fully healthy because I think he's going to be an absolute game changer on this team.
And Ottawa does have some very, very good receivers. Obviously, you have Gina Lewis there now as the number one. You have Justin Hardy, who had one heck of a breakout year last year. Khalil Pimpleton, in a small sample size, was very, very solid. So if they get these guys going over the middle, that'd be where my question marks are. We have the guys that can cover them, but if they start running those crossers in the Corey Mace zone defense, going against Nelson Lacombo, potentially Jaden Dalkey in coverage, that's my concern about this game is stopping that, slowing that down. Hopefully we see a pass rush that forces Drew Brown to have to scramble around and make throws that he's not comfortable with, right? Like you don't want him sitting there in the pocket getting 4 or 5 seconds to throw the ball because any pro quarterback will eat you alive if they get that kind of time. So if you can get to the quarterback, that's the big thing. They got to have a consistent pass rush. We talked about it all off season long. This is going to be our first look at Shane Ray. So if he can, he's proven that when he's healthy, he can be a game changer. That health is that question though. So if he can stay healthy, I think we'll be fine. And then they just got to find another defensive end somehow, whether it's through the rotation or somebody steps up and grabs the role like Baldonado as an every down guy. But they gotta find another edge rusher.
The good news here is they're going up against the 46th ranked player in the top 50 list. I'm just going to harp on that list all the rest of the episode. If there was ever an episode or a game where you're okay to miss a guy, clearly he's the one. He's another guy I have an issue with where he was on the list, but let's not get into that. If you listen,
He was
to
on the list.
Corey,
That is my issue with it. It's not where he's on the list.
yeah. But if you listen to Corey Mace talk about Shane Ray, and he has on multiple occasions, he has nothing but glowing things to say about the guy. He knows what to expect. He, if I remember correctly, coached him in Toronto.
Yes.
So he knows exactly what the guy can bring. And he's the kind of guy that defensive line was missing last year. And then you combine Mike Rose and Micah Johnson in the middle. That's a scary front seven. I don't think you could name a better front seven in the CFL right now.
Malik Carney's no slouch either. Like, let's be honest. Like,
I totally forgot he was on the roster.
I'm like,
Oh,
did he say Carney and I just stroked out, or did he?
Totally blanked on him and forgot until right now that he was on the roster.
Like, he's no slouch. Like, we talk about the presidents, we got the prime minister on the one side, so I think we're gonna be okay. Like, there's gonna be some Rider fans that will be confused about cheering for Carney, but that's a conversation for another day. But no, you're right. Our front seven, and you throw on the reigning most outstanding defensive player, the next level up behind them, and an NFL defensive back behind that. Like, our defense should eat their lunch. Yes, they got Geno Lewis, but they still got Drew Brown throwing the ball. I am not overly concerned.
And as for Ottawa, obviously they're dealing with some injuries as well too. Peter Godber is out at center, and Nick Martin.
We should have signed him over McEwen. What were we thinking?
Yeah, no kidding. Nick Martiner, their top pick from last year, the receiver, he's done for the year. So their top pick this year takes his spot in the starting lineup. Was it Keelan White, I think, is who it is. So their Canadian depth is being tested as well, not just ours. They're having some issues right off the bat here. So, and the first game always still kind of feels like a preseason game. Teams are still, I mean, the number one units in the CFL get so little work in the preseason that it does take a little bit to gel. So hopefully having a veteran laden team like ours helps that process, and having another year with Mark Mueller as the offensive coordinator and less changes, right? So pardon me, hopefully that's a good fit for this team, gets them going a little bit faster than we've seen in previous years. But it comes down to me in this game to the Riders offensive line. Jacob Brammer is now a game time decision. So how does the offensive line look? Well, it's a mess. So the way that it stands right now, let's assume that Jacob Brammer is out.
Can we not assume that? That's scary.
Yeah. This is just how they lined up in Tuesday's closed practice. They still have a Wednesday walkthrough, but they don't really do much in a walkthrough. Peyton Collins at left tackle. He was one of the guys that was put on the practice roster. Trevon Tate, who we thought was going to be the left tackle, slides into left guard. Logan Ferland at center. Zach Fry at right guard, and then Jamarcus Hardrick at right tackle. So if
Pray for the offensive line's health.
Yeah, if Brammer's good to go, then Tate slides out to left tackle, Brammer slides into left guard. So either way, we're going with the two Americans on the left side, Ferland in the middle, Fry, and Jamarcus Hardrick on the right side. So that's how it's going to play out. But just the injuries on this offensive line that we've seen over the last couple years and now already before week one, it's wild to me. Like, I've never seen anything like this. This is crazy.
We haven't even hit week one of the CFL season, and we are predicting to start one guy in the spot on the O-line where he was supposed to be.
And he's coming off a major injury.
Position. Like, I love Edwin Harrison, and he is going to have his work cut out for him. But can we, whatever curse is on that offensive line, can we find a way to bless it?
We sold our soul in 2013. We're still paying right now for it. I'm confident that's exactly what it is. You guys think you're going to be good? Just kidding. You guys.
I suffered through Dickey. I suffered through bowling. We are through this curse. We are through it.
Who do I have to write a song about to get somebody fired here?
We have paid for 2013 over and over again. Was it worth it? Absolutely. Am I done with it? Absolutely.
So we'll see what happens in this one. I think it'll be a tight contest. The Riders should be favored. Oh, yeah, we have to do our picks. We got to get to those. Yeah. Sorry, we'll have to do that really quick. So we'll do our picks there. I'm sure the Riders are favored. Since we'll do that, I'll take the first guess. Oh, do you even have it ready?
Piffles Picks. Well, folks, when you're right 52% of the time, you're wrong 48% of the time.
And speaking of which, you actually almost nailed that percentage with your picks last year, Greg.
One off.
Yep.
Stupid wind gust in Montreal throwing that off. Oh.
Yep. So we'll rip through this. Ottawa at Saskatchewan on Thursday night. I'll take a guess at -3.5 for the Riders.
I'm going to go -4.5 for Saskatchewan.
It started off at 2.5. It has now been extended to 3.5. But we're going by opening. We're going by opening. Is what we always
going by opening. 2.5, eh?
Field goal game.
I'll take the Riders in this one.
I'm taking the Riders.
Riders and field goal very easily, yes.
Yeah. Game number 2, Toronto at Montreal. This will be Nick Arbuckle starting for Toronto. Toronto by 1.5.
I'm going to go Toronto by 3.5.
4.5. Oh, sorry. Montreal 4.5.
Oh, wow.
Give me Toronto on that one.
Greg?
I think Toronto's going to win, but I think Montreal covers. So Toronto, I guess.
I thought you said it was Montreal by 4.5.
It is Montreal 4.5.
Oh, I got you. Yep. Right. So you think Toronto's going to win?
But I think they win by a field goal. Never mind. Yeah, I did it back.
But it's Montreal by 4.
I got it wrong.
Montreal wins, but by a field goal, so Toronto covers.
Yes. Sorry. Yes.
Okay.
Gotcha.
I am going to go with Montreal to cover that 4.5.
Oh, you're going by a full touchdown, eh? Or 6 points?
Well, 5 points.
Yeah, 5 points.
You're having troubles over there, Greg.
I'm math. Hey, Saskatchewan, we have trouble with math.
Yeah.
Apparently 1 hour and 15 minutes is your limit.
It is, actually. I'm exhausted. It's been a long day.
Hamilton at Calgary. Steve, why don't you take the first guess on the last couple
I'm going to go Hamilton by 74. No, Hamilton by 5.5.
I'll go Hamilton 6.5.
1.5.
What?
Okay.
Hamilton is only a 1.5 favorite in this.
I mean, I like Vernon Adams, but he's not enough to turn that franchise around.
He's no Henry Burris.
Hamilton.
Yeah, this one's easy. This one's easily Hamilton. Yeah. Easily Hamilton.
Okay, and the
I
final
love
one.
Week 1 point spreads.
Oh, just bad.
And final one, Edmonton at BC with Snoop Dogg as the halftime show, the pre-game concert.
You thought the Smoking Regina was bad on Friday.
Wait till Snoop's in BC of all places.
Are we all waiting to make a smoke joke there?
Sorry, Steve, do you want to take a guess at the spread here?
Oh, BC by 1.5.
BC 2.5.
5.5.
I give up.
Both teams are giant question marks, but I don't hate that number. I think BC covers. I think BC's got more veteran presence, and Trey Ford, as good as he can be, is still a question mark.
It's only so much you can do when you run around and chuck up the ball to Gino Lu. Oh, they don't have him anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Who's he throwing the ball to?
When you run around and just chuck up the ball and pray. I want to say Edmonton covers, not to win, but I'll go with BC. I'll take BC.
I'm going BC.
All right. So I will lead you guys by 1 after Montreal covers that spread. You going to get over 500 this year, Steve?
Not a chance.
Remotely close to it anyway.
I'm gonna give it the old college try.
Well, we'll see what happens. Week 1 is always, week 1 in the NFL is the biggest one. CFL can be a little bit wonky, but we'll see what happens. Week 1 begins on Thursday with the Riders hosting the Ottawa Red Blacks. Looking forward to that. We'll see you at Mosaic Stadium for that. Anything else? You guys look confused. Anything else you guys want to bring up?
No, because I'm just looking at this betting thing, and it says the game's at 9:30 Eastern, which we would put at 7:30. So the math ain't math in between the schedules, between the league and Rider Nation here. So
just show up early anyway.
Yeah, just show up.
All right, Piffles Podcast is brought to you by our great friends at Dairy Queen on Elphinstone Street and Sass Drive in Regina. Special thanks, of course, go to Kathy Festian of Roy LePage Next Level, Churchill Brewing Company, District 306, Regina's Tactical Laser Tech Experience, and Bigfoot Vodka for their support, making this show and everything possible. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching on YouTube or on Sass Telemax TV on demand. Go Riders, go. This is Tyler Gilbert with Ghost Behind Your Mind.
Thank you for being such a big supporter and fan of the CFL and myself personally.